And yeah, this is none of this is financial advice, guys. This is all education. Take that with this with a grain of salt. Do your own research. And yeah, we'll try to help
Order
you as
filled.
much as we can. So what are you guys looking for today? Does anybody have any questions, any concerns?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sure, go for it.
So, I like to trade SPY pretty much all day,
Sure.
and lately I've been getting into just waiting for channels, channel breakthroughs.
Uh-huh.
But I want to see like what your point of view is. Do you draw them on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, 15, 30 minute, 1 hour, etc.?
Sure, take a look right now.
And which time frame is most important for you to see like a breakthrough happening and like a major downtrend or
Stock
uptrend?
filled.
Sure, yeah, it depends on how you're trading it, right? Like, how long you want the trade to be, how you want um, it totally depends on, what time frame you're trying to trade on, I guess. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like if you're trying to keep it for the whole day, if you're expecting a move earlier, we try generally the way Smoove or me or Moin try to trade, we try to trade, based on breakouts. Moin just does candlestick patterns, to be honest. But even when he's doing options, not futures, but when he's doing options, he bases it on breakout levels, right? So this is what I trade the way I trade it, right? Like, so I actually got caught surprisingly enough because I went in with a bias of the fact that we were headed down pretty hard. Like if you look at this side, the channel is already there. You see how this channel was already there that we were respecting like almost the whole yesterday, like the day before. Sorry, like not yesterday as in today's Monday, so Friday obviously, and then we went into pre-market, kind of topped out again over here, and topped out again in pre-market over here. So like this was a very strong trend line that I thought we were respecting. I went in with shorts at when market opened when this drop really happened because this was my pre-market low that I was looking at because we bounced over here really nicely. So I got a really nice trade like at market open, which I try not to do, but because this was 5, 10, 15 minutes almost. This was 15 minutes out almost. So I got this trade, which was really nice, and this was almost like a dollar break almost. Yeah, it was almost a dollar, maybe more even. I got a small part of it, but this reversal is what caught me off guard really hard actually. I actually shorted it again right here, and it just killed me out. Because I had a bias that we were just going down today. I thought we were going to go like 2% down, but when I tried to look at it, we kind of went up the whole day, like in a very clear channel. I tried to trade based on the fact what the market is showing me. The 5 minute works out pretty well for me, to be really honest, especially to stay in a trade. Like, if I would have gotten up, at any point in time, even if I got it over here, we never broke VWAP. Yes, on futures, this is a pretty serious hold. This is like I don't know, even on a contract, probably this is like a couple of hundred maybe, if not a couple of $1,000 worth of you going negative. But you have to realize that sometimes you take a risk depending on the account size. But if I would have even got it over here, and if I held it, we pretty much went the whole day. Like we went up, made a flag, went up, made a flag, went up, and you just kind of kept on going up after that. So I try to draw my channels based on the 5 minute, what it's showing me. The 1 minute will align pretty well with most of these channels, to be really honest. Um, it's a little bit out sometimes, but for the most part, it's going to align really, really well. Sometimes, these ones go really out, which are probably a wick um, on the 5 minute, but for the most part, they align really well for me. So when I try to take a trade, if I want an ascending channel, this is what I do. I'll be really honest, and this is more for trading futures because I don't know how much you can get on it in terms of SPY or S, but you might be able to get more in SPX if you did 0 day, right? So what I'm trying to do is I short over here and I go long over here, and there's a good reason for it, right? If this does not break out over here, I will, like, if this doesn't break out over here, I go short. I can take this right down somewhere till either EMAs or till, this bottom of the channel, right? But if this breaks out over here, I will probably have a stop loss right above over here, and I can go long then above over here. The same goes, keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going, and this is what happened over here. I went probably I would have probably gone long over here. When this channel broke, I would have immediately gotten short somewhere around this EMA. When this EMA broke, and I would have taken this right down because the 200 EMA was right here. So that's how I like to trade based on channels, but I respect them very heavily. Like if a channel breaks, I know that I will be going short or long depending on what side it's breaking down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and right there where you said it touched the bottom channel and you went long.
Yeah,
I went long there as well because I noticed that pattern, but
yeah,
then I freaked out when it broke it.
yeah.
And so like any tips on that or let's a
No,
better another question.
yeah,
Yeah,
no.
sorry.
What I do is that if this, like, if I would have gone long over here just so that it could ride this channel up all the way up over here somewhere to 555 or something of that sort. If once it breaks down over here, I have a certain stop loss that in my mind works for me on futures. I just take the loss. I don't care what happens. If it goes back up, I will enter again over here. Like sometimes it just wigs down and comes back up. It comes back up, I will go again over here. But that is my stop loss. And to be honest, I'll tell you, it's $50. I don't risk more than $50 on a trade. I don't care if it wicks out, and I get stopped out a lot because of that. I'll be really honest. It's most people would tell you that $50 is a very tight stop loss on an ES contract, let alone on an ES contract. On NQ, it will just kill you if you do $50. But on ES, I try to be conservative, so I'll try to enter on a wick. Like I'll place it down over here. Sometimes you miss a fill, but that way my stop loss doesn't get hit. But if it does get hit over here, I'm like, it's fine, it's okay. If it comes back up over here, I will go long again over here again. But that stop loss has helped me not getting killed. Like what I would do is, if I went long over here and they started to go down, what I'll do is I'll average down over here because the 60 MA is over here. Or I'll average down over here, this 550 level because it's a hard level over here. Or I'll average down over here. And you can like this move on futures will absolutely annihilate your account. Like this is a couple of $1,000s worth of move even on one contract. Let alone like if you had averaged down over here to two, this would have like killed your account like multiple days worth of you working hard to do it. So for me, I still have to figure out a way to do this in options. Maybe Smoove can tell you that a little bit better about this because he's over here too. But I try to be very conservative with my stop loss. You can always enter back up again. Because the other problem, especially with futures, is that this move is what kills your premium. Like this one step down, this one or two, this move will absolutely annihilate your premium. So if I was doing futures, I would not enter over here unless I saw, like for example, like when you saw it over here, like this one going down, unless I saw a good bounce and close above EMAs, I would not do, like I would take an option maybe if this closed like really well above both of these EMAs, I would take it over here to ride up to the channel. Like, the channel up was all the way over here, or, like a cleaner bounce like over here, a cleaner bounce over here, maybe take these ones. But I would not take something like this, which is already breaking down below the EMAs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, awesome.
I have a question about that trend that you're looking at right there,
Go for it.
and mostly about the top trend line.
Okay.
Can you show the points where you decided where you were going to put that trend line and why they were significant?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So this is today's chart, right? So for me, when we're going up, my more important line is the bottom one, right? Because I want to see where it's breaking trend, right? It can keep going up, it can go up higher, it can go up, a little bit high. It might not even touch the top channel. My important thing for me, the way I trade, is I try to get the bottom channel out, right? So I'd identified these two channels over here, and I kind of made a line over here, and I kind of kept on improving with this, right? As you keep on getting more and more points, you kind of keep on improving it, and you base it out like when it starts, like once you have multiple points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, your confidence keeps on getting better and better. The top line, I won't really pay too much attention to it. I just drew it because, it kind of matched over here, over here. This was like, there was no other point that I could kind of mix it. Like it would have not even been a channel. It would have been I don't even know what it would have been. It would have been like a triangle, maybe like an ascending wedge or something of that sort. Maybe, and it didn't make sense in my brain. We go into trades or even with patterns, mostly with our own bias and, the way we're trying to look at it. Sometimes you get a very clear pattern, sometimes you don't. But for me, the important one was this bottom line because, again, like I'll say this again, right? Like I went into the day thinking that, we're going to have a 2% day. We're already down 0.8 or maybe 1%, like somewhere over here. So I thought we were just going to keep on going down. So for me over here, this was like a really important line. I thought we were just making a bear flag over here and we're going to break and we're going to like zoop, go down. Like we're going to like really go out hard. And I got caught like multiple times with my pants down on my futures account. It was not a good trading day for me. I mean, I came out okay, but it was something that I need to really work on. My discipline helped me to kind of, escape out without my pants still being brown. But if I would have let any of those trades go like even a little bit more than I usually do, I would have been sitting like way negative than what I was today. I lost, I think, like $200 today or something of that sort. Like even though I was net positive, like I was like $300 positive when I took this trade. I ended up closing like negative, like in total I lost 500, made 300, so I was negative 200 today. Which is really silly because if you look at it, it was like a fairly nice go up, make a flag, go up, make a flag, go up, and kind of like I don't know, maybe this is a flag. Like pre-market volume is pretty low, so I won't say this is a flag yet, but kind of sort of played out really nicely. So I still have to work on that, but I try generally if we're going up, the bottom channel is what's important to me, and if we're going down, the top channel is what's important to me. Just like it over here, like when we were going down from Friday into pre-market today, into pre-market like really early morning, then this is like 9 o'clock in the morning. This top line was a really important part for me because I was like, if this breaks, we're kind of going up. I just want to see how much up we want to go and everything, and like where do I stop shorting basically. So that's how I trade, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. I only use the bottom on an uptrend and the top on a downtrend, and I was trying to, when I looked at your upper part, I was like, I don't even know how to put the upper channel on.
Yeah, no, that's just from my own, like, like my own OCD that I have to make it into a channel kind of sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of more for that. But, it's more for, like this is more, yeah, like the trend gets broken. That's what we're trying to see. Honestly,
yes.
I don't even care about levels. We're moving so much these days that, the levels really don't matter. We can move $4-5 so easily, or like $10 so easily in a day these days that it just does not make sense for me even sometimes to have these levels on these days. We just keep going or we keep going down, like it doesn't really matter. So we were negative 1%, which means we were 5% negative. We were $5 negative, and then we recovered all of that, and then we went up 0.67%, which is $3. So we went up $8 today. So these hard levels kind of these days don't matter. Yes, some of those psychological ones, you see a good bounce on them. But in terms of how high or how low we can go, I don't even pay attention anymore. Like, just, I don't know.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey, in the zone, I have another question.
Go for it, man.
So, can you go to the left, please? Like left bottom.
Sure.
Yeah, right there. So let's say, it hit that point, the 546.87.
Yeah.
And then you get confirmation for the uptrend. And let's say, well, you buy like 5 contracts, right? And then it goes up, and then you see like those 2 red candles.
Yeah.
How do you like in my case, I would have gotten scared and sold everything.
Okay.
But how would you stay calm and keep some runners and
Where
then buy all of that?
Where were you entering? That's the question. Are you entering over here? Are you entering over here?
Let's say on the first one that you click.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not a bad place, right? Like when you go up and you come down over here, maybe if you tested it on the EMAs, and this is a 5 minute chart, right? So keep that in mind. If you did over here, um, you rejected off of a level, right? Like right here, you rejected off a level. You also realize that VWAP is right here. Now, your risk tolerance will tell you how much you can do it. I try that if I'm on a green trade, I will not let it turn red. I will enter again. This has been I have made this rule after a lot of losing. If I am turning red, I will take 1% green, 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever it is, right? I will take that. And I will enter again 5 times if I need to, taking small greens. I don't care, like, before that big move happens, right? But that is my risk tolerance, right? Like I don't like because again, if this VWAP loses down, you could have easily tested low of day, right? Easily. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to assess, what kind of risk you want to take. I'm just not a fan of, especially because I'm doing zero DTEs and SPX contracts. I do not like to take that chance at all. I was like, I will let it go and, enter back again. I might lose a little bit of profit, like from that volatility, like if it really comes down and, like shoots back up and I'm not able to enter on it on time, I will do it that way. But I'd rather not have this flush and then this flush down again over here. Because generally, if this VWAP would have lost, we would have gone down really hard, just like we did over here. Once VWAP was lost over here, we went down really hard. So I don't like doing that. That's all. But that's your risk tolerance that will come with time. I will say, man, size down. Size down to either two contracts, size down to something that lets you ride. You will kind of realize it, that what your risk tolerance is and how you want to do it if your size is small enough. It's the amount of money that you're losing that usually starts to bother you. At least it bothers me. So if you size really small, it becomes much easier to, um, you know, swallow that down, swallow that trend down. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. If it doesn't, let me know. I might just get off on a tangent and not answer your question. So,
I have another question. I keep my drawdown really small, but I'm having a problem staying in the trade long enough to get the big win. My losses are tiny, but as soon as I see a couple of red candles, if I'm long, I'm out.
okay, okay. So you're telling me my problem. Um, Unfortunately, the only answer that I have to that question, and I've asked this, you can ask Smoove, and Moin's not here, but I was trying to ask him that, hey, there are multiple points where I would have entered into a trade like over here, right? And I would have, um, it went up, it came back down, and it just kept on going up the whole day. And I've been like, how do I try to get this whole ride out? Like, what is the secret sauce to it? What is the, you know, how do I do it? And the only thing that I have come to realize is on days like these days is that the only way I do it is if you enter low enough and it never really touches your level again. That is the only way that I feel that I can do it. There is no other way that I have figured out how to ride this. Like either you have a real good stomach of steel, because we are fluctuating so much that it just annihilates. Like if you got in at just the wrong time, it is very difficult to ride this trend up. But with options, especially if you're doing 0 days, I don't know what you're doing, like how far expiration you have, the money that you make is on a move like this, right? So you need to identify this part actually loses. Like you realize if you got in over here, or over here, whatever, if you got in over here or even over here at $1 or at $100 or whatever, this move up, it might have gone up 30%, for example, to 1.3.
Stop filled.
And then this whole time, even though the price was maybe higher over here, your price would probably not have gone above 1.3. like above 130 or whatever, this is where the price might have gone up even more. Because important volatility changes with this move up top, like this rapid move up top, is where the price change comes. So in my mind, if you're able to find a move like this, like even on a 5 minute chart, if you're able to find a move like this, the 20-30%, do it. And when you have an account which is big enough, where you have three, four, five contracts, six contracts, you got 30% over here, you got 130% over here, you got another 30-40% over here. Now you've pretty much made your money back, whatever money you put into it. Then you can make your last one or two contracts pretty much ride up, you can be like, oh, wherever the trend breaks, kind of sort of, I'll kind of take my profit. So you can do that with multiple contracts. I don't know how to do it with a single contract. I just don't have the risk tolerance for it, and I don't have the like. I like securing profits on a move like this. I'd be like, hey, I will try to re-enter again if it comes down to the bottom of the channel and try to ride this back up again. But I can't take this volatility and the chance to lose profit, especially on days where on a market where it flips really rapidly, right? Like we were down 1% completely, and we just completely regained all of that back up and went positive. So it's kind of it's difficult for me to answer that question, really honestly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Where's that supposed to?
I'm not sure.
If you, when I could try to add a little something to that, as far as knowing how long you can hold it for, or building up the confidence for that. It simply comes down to just confidence, confidence in what you're seeing, what you plan for in the trade, and prepare for if things start to not look like it's heading that direction. I know that's a simple answer, but the second answer is the volume. Um, so today, for example, on any uptrends, I got in and I was out. I did not even attempt to hold anything, right? So like if you look at the trend today, it just went up, but there was no for me. I had little confidence of us just going up, going up, going up, and going up. The only thing in my head is just the fill of the gap is possible. Besides that, us pushing up doesn't make sense, truly. Um, and what do I mean by that is the last time we were here, where we were, like the 540 area, the last time we were here, one, we bounced right away. And then two, the last time we were here was, I want to say, August of last year. So since then, there has been no volume in this area. So, on a Monday when we're in a whole new price range where we're gapping down, or in general when we're starting a new day in a new area without as much volume, right? Or it's not a comfortable area where you um, understand the price action as far as how each level reacts to it. You can, it's harder to hold the trade. But if for example, for the rest of the week we stay in this 160, oh wow, I didn't realize I went to 160. Okay, so yeah, 160 to like this 548 level. If for the whole week we trade in this range here, then you can afford to hold the trade throughout the way, because you have already identified how price is reacting in this area. Today, it's part of the reason I mentioned earlier in my channel as well. It's today's the day that we're just kind of settling price, trying to develop volume in this range. Where we're trying to like develop premiums in this range. Like the call volume and the put volume for this area there hasn't been any increasing volume. These contracts go out for at least they can go for the end of the year, but generally people go through cycles per quarter or every third of the month. So on the 21st, it ended last month's pretty much option cycle. So now on this option cycle, we're in a whole new range that we weren't in before. So the true value of a 148 call, a 148 put is unknown to us. If you were in any trade today, when you woke up this morning, whether it was a call or put, I'm 100% certain it was up a lot of money. It's because we're in a whole different random range, and within the next 2 minutes, it either went really negative or you suddenly were really positive. Um, it's just because there's no volume here. There's nothing to validate what the price is for this range, if that makes sense. So once you have enough price developing in an area, you can afford to like say, once we get to 150, I know it's going to 155 every time. I'm just not going to hesitate. That's when we get this heavy rejection. So any pullbacks, I'm just going to make sure the trend doesn't fail, and then you just draw a trend line and you let it ride. Um, Hopefully that makes sense there for you guys. But that's what I use primarily.
That's perfect. I was gonna ask about the volume and how it affected, when the volume's higher, I feel like I can get a feel of the trend better than I feel like when the volume's low, it's super choppy. Is that like, did I make that up in my head?
No, I mean it's definitely true. Um, the reason where just because the volume itself is low, it doesn't necessarily mean there's less like value in that range, but it definitely means that there's more of a spread. Like you familiar with the bid and ask, right? You know, the bid is what you're selling it for, and the ask is what you're buying it for. When there's lower volume, if you notice, if you look at like a ticker, um, that's not as like liquid as like let's say SPY where it has a lot of volume. If you look at trying to think of an example, let's say like Baba, right? For example, they're like the bid and ask is like $5 apart. That just means that there's not enough volume to like separate the bid and ask, or to reduce the gap in the bid and ask. Basically, you have people selling at 100 and people selling at 95, and everything in between is just a chop. And that's what pretty much, if that makes sense, if you could visualize it with what low volume really means. Spy will have it has a lot more volume in its range, um, but unless there is enough buying or selling pressure and consistency, like if you look at this chart right now, it's green red green red green red green red. Like there's a few stacks off of strong downtrends, but then it just pushes up and settles there. So for me today was just a way for us to settle and create volume in a range that is new, right? We haven't had price action like in this area for a whole almost a year at this point, right? Like 6 7 months. So and there's new traders every day that come into the market. So um, the level of confidence they have, like in August, to this area, this was just buy last year. This year, it might be just sell, right? So until it starts to like kind of have that equilibrium where the price starts to really balance itself, it's gonna be like harder to choose what direction that it's going in. Um, and then as far as lower volume, yeah, it just spreads the area where someone wants to get in. Because if you're trying to long a stock, you want to get in at the top, and if you're trying to short a stock, you want to get out at the bottom. Um, if there's not enough volume in between, then price is just going to go to one direction. It's either going to go straight to the top or straight to the bottom, and everything in between. There's not going to be enough price action there, and that's what today was creating price action in that middle area um, that we didn't have before. Even if
Thank you.
if you pulls up the volume profile, you'll see today we just created a volume in this range here. Like it's a whole. We have candles now that are here. Before it wasn't. It was just like a small little peaks and valleys. But now we have significant volume that developed here that wasn't here, and it wasn't here the last time we were here as well. So yeah,
Thank you, Smoke. I appreciate it.
go
You
ahead.
can also look at like the order flow, like the options order flow kind of helps you as well. Joyrider has a really nice, like he posted during the day, of how option order flow is going as well. So that helps a lot of people, get an idea of what direction we're still heading. But those are all like more advanced things for me at least. So yeah, there are lots of ways to go about it. I think.
automotive field.
Alrighty. Any other questions, guys?
I have a question. Do you have any reoccurring like penny stock in your head that's like a healthcare sector that you kind of circle back to? Because I know it's usually just whatever momentum is there. I'm just curious if you have one that you like. When you think of healthcare doing well, you want to jump into. Do you have one
For
in
the
your brain?
so something that really piqued my interest is Clover Health. It sounds really stupid because this was one of like it became like a meme stock for a while, with Chamath Palihapitiya coming in and everything of how it went. But this is one of those things. This company is one of those things that if you go, actually, let me show you what happened. So this came in. This was like a huge boom back in 2021. Like when things were going crazy, this went like huge, and then it kind of just died. You can imagine from 26 down to like $1 over here, and it hovered over here in $1 range. But the work that they're doing is they're their software company, and they do really well apparently from what I hear, and it has recovered fantastic. So one of the companies that this is one of those things that I'm really interested in seeing how it goes. Um, it's not a penny stock by I don't think by any chance because it has a
It's still a small. It's a small cap.
I mean it's a 500 million company. I think it's not horrible. Let's see, where's the market cap? Market cap is 1.8 billion. So
Um, that's pretty. It's pretty big.
yeah, it's pretty big.
Didn't realize how
Exactly.
much.
Yeah, they have a huge float. They have a free float of 400 million shares. So, um, but this is one of those companies which is, and this is I've heard from insiders as well. I'll be really honest. Like I know of somebody. I'm not going to give it too much detail, but they're in the health sector at a very nice. I mean, they started in Connecticut. So you can think about the health insurance companies that are in Connecticut, based out, like the big ones. Um, and then think about the executives that are over there. Like, I talked to multiple people, and all of them say that this company is one of those that, is probably going to be bought out. With the work that they're doing and how they've recovered over the past couple of, months and, their leadership and all of that stuff is one of those things that's probably going to get bought out. So I have my eye pretty nicely on this. One of those things that, really encourages me is that even with all the beating that we have taken, this is only down 30% maybe. You will see things now being 50, and this was on a huge run. Imagine that with it. It's not just the fact that this was 30% is from like whatever it was hovering at. This has been on a huge run. It went from what is it, 0.6.
I mean, it caught up to his 200 day. I think that's like something that any penny stock would kind of wish to get, right? Not
Yeah,
many of them even get that far up.
yeah, but this went from like 0.6 all the way to $5 almost, right? Like, which is huge, humongous, right? And that just doesn't, for at least a, you know, even if this was like $500 million company, whatever, at that point in time, it is pretty huge, right? For a $500 million company to, gain this kind of momentum, there has to be something backing up. And this is over weeks to months. This is over months, right? This is from last year in May to now. So this is something which is I really like believe in this company before as well because I'm from the healthcare sector, I guess. But this it became a meme stock where all the believers of Chamath kind of pumped it up really high, and then it kind of took the beating of a lifetime. But it has come back nicely as a solid company with good financials, all of that stuff. So this is something that I really like to watch once we kind of settle out.
What do they focus on? Like what type of
Billing.
like
A lot of it is billing, medical billing,
okay.
and all of that stuff. So and they do really good apparently. Like their software is pretty nice compared to what other people have in the industry. Um, so I'll dig deeper into it and I'll post like stuff about it. But they do really well. Like they have a lot of data that they gather with it. So it's more about a data company than just what they do per se.
It focuses on seniors. Um okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I just see like a rotation into like the health sector coming in soon. Um, but specifically like the COVID vaccines ones are kind of dying out. Like Moderna's just been taking a hit.
Yeah.
I was gonna short it until I saw it gap down, and I'm like, another gap? Like, how much can you short this thing? It's crazy.
Anymore.
um, but yeah, I see like a rotation to like the care sector coming soon. We got that pullback that happened today with the push up as expected. So let's see if we do get that sector rotation on the news. But yeah, I just wanted to know if there's like any like smaller, medium, or even penny stock that you know about.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Clover Health. Like, I've liked it for a while. Uh, so it's worked out. I mean, I took this ride a little bit. Like once it broke over the 60 EMA, like over here, I took this ride over here about 1.5 over here. And I took this ride to the 200 EMA with this one. I never knew that it would come down, test this, and go up again. That would have been huge. But you get what you get, and you don't get upset. That's what my daughter told me from preschool, and I kind of made it my motto. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. So yeah, it's worked out really well. And this is what I kind of mentioned about you can go in and out, right? Like you could have taken, like I wasn't, I guess my brain didn't work nice enough. I took this 200 EMA, I took this straight to 3.5. I remember I sold it at 3.49. Now I could have and let's go to the daily because that's a more clear picture over here. I'll show you where 3.4 came right over here. And 3.5 was like a nice one. So I sold over here, right? Now you could have if you looked at the weekly or you could have looked at the daily, you could have bought in again like somewhere over here. You could have bought in once it kind of broke out like really well. You could buy things again and again and again and again, and sell it, right? Like there's no harm in taking small losses. Always be fearful of taking big losses rather than small ones. I traded this on the weekly because the weekly was very nice over here. But the smart thing would have been to do I sold right over here, 3.49 or whatever, 3.48. I sold most of them out in one go over here. But what I should have done is kept a look on it, right? Like kept an eye on it, over the next couple of weeks, could have bought again over here, could have bought again over here. Once it kind of broke up and came back down, I could have bought again. Once it broke back again over here, if I was really scared that hey, this 200 EMA, it broke back down. Let's buy it over here. I could have gone from 4 to 4 point whatever 8 or whatever it went. I could have gone all the way. That was another 20%. It's bouncing right over here. I could possibly think about an entry over here, but the market sentiment is really bad at this point, so that makes a additional complication. But you can always go in and go out. Take small losses. It's fine if it if I took an entry over here and if I exited over here, it would have been fine. It's a small loss. A 10% loss is okay. Don't hold it. Set a stop loss in your mind, respect it. You can always enter again. I would have exited out over here and it started breaking up again over here. I would have taken it over here, ridden it over the next 2 weeks, made 20% over here. This 10% didn't seem really bad at that point, right? When you made 20% over here. So, because if it would have left this, it could have gone all the way down to your 60 EMA, which would have been like a much, much, much bigger loss. So take small losses, be comfortable with small losses, follow your plan or whatever the chart's showing you and re-enter again. You can always re-enter again. There's nobody who's stopping you from being stopped out in 1% profit and, trying to enter again 5 times and taking 2% profit all those 5 times, as long as that was in your plan. Like if it didn't hit your price target, it started to reverse. What's the harm in that, right? Like you ended up with 1% profit and not with a 20% loss or whatever. Does my rant make sense?
No, it does. It does. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Keep an eye on it. Slow. Add it to my list.
Sure.
So it seems like that the trends would be really easy to draw on that weekly chart.
Yep.
Especially the bottom. Well, actually, the bottom and the top would be easy to draw. So when you look at the next entry, would you be waiting for it to break the 9 EMA? or how would you decide when you would go long?
So two things. One, I would look at the daily. We are respecting the 200 EMA on the daily really nicely, right? Like even with the current market sentiment, we've been kind of respecting this. So if it bounces over here on the 200 EMA on the daily, I would one look for this. And second thing, we can draw some levels out as well, which I haven't, which I probably should. And you'll realize something else. And this is just a rough draw, by the way. Like I'm looking at it the same way you guys are, with how much, um, kind of sort of, right? So now I'm looking at this, right? Like on a daily chart, this is how it looks nice. We have bounced over here once, twice. The 200 EMA is coming over here. Like if it bounces right around this range and it starts to go up, I wouldn't mind, taking an entry over here. As long as the market sentiment, either flattens out or changes, something of that sort. I don't want to go into a long position when all we're looking at is downside from a market risk, because people, like, there's a reason why gold did its best quarter in like 30 years or 40 years, something of that sort. Because people are offloading, like selling. The ETF outflow is insanely high right now. So an ETF will include a portion of a company like this, Clover, as well, in some shape or form or the other. So the sell-off generally results in the price going down. So once the market settles down, yeah, absolutely, I would try to see what levels it's respecting and the EMAs that it's respecting. I generally try to take most of my entries on a daily. By the time I saw this, it was really nice on the weekly, so it turned out really nice. But again, I would like my entry would have been like really nice. This 2.9 $3 area is not a bad, like not a horrible place to start a position, either. When you look at the weekly and you look at the daily as well, right? This 3.2 $3 area where we're coming down this section is not a bad place. As long as we do a bounce, market stabilizes, and we can catch up to it and go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I missed out a few levels. I just made like the ones that were really like stood out to me in my eye. I missed out a few levels. You could put a level over here. You could put a level over here. They were not as relevant. You can put one over here as well. We chopped around quite a bit. There are a couple you can put in, and then you can activate VP as well and see how most of the price, even in the last couple of weeks, you see how big your volume, like most of your volume traded is around this big chunk over here. So this, like shows you where, the company is really valued and where most of it is traded. So it becomes a nice place to, think about where you can start your position as well. I don't like to use it though too much. It sometimes gives me like a false sense of security.
And how do you judge market sentiment? Like in the morning, do you look at the SPY and that gives you an idea, or do you look at
Yeah.
that chart, the fear
No,
greed chart?
the fear and greed index is kind of, at this point in time, I don't think the fear and greed index is really like we're just going to show it in fear. Like we're fear, 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 fear. Like we're at the bottom, right? Absolutely. I don't think that really is a good judge of what the market sentiment. I just want to see the SPY, settle out at least. I don't want this happening, like this whipsawing. Absolutely. We went from 547 all the way to what? This was 570s. Like look at this. Like, this should not happen on the biggest, one of the biggest funds that's being traded. 576. We went like 5%, 6%, or actually more. Like, what am I talking about? We went from 549, 550, all the way to 575, which is what? I don't know. This is horrible. Percentage. Like this is like 5%, right? 5% almost within a span of a couple of days. And that too with huge wicks and everything over here, right? And then we went down, and then we came back up and everything. This is not like a stable market by any means, right? So I want to have like if we've bottomed out, we've bottomed out. We kind of like start trending slowly. We don't need like these huge wicks. We don't need $8 moves in a day. $2 is fine. Two, three, $4 is fine. But we need like a steady trend. Like this wasn't horrible, right? Like this part wasn't horrible. We were rejecting off the 200 EMA on the daily. I'll show you my 200. Where did my 200 EMA go? Oh my god. This is my 200 EMA. Like this is my the purple line. I hope you guys can see it. The 200 EMA, like we kept on rejecting off this multiple days, and we were talking about this on a Friday of how this looked like. We were going to go down, and then the next day somebody talked about tariffs, how they're going to be softer, and we gapped up like really high. And I was like, I have no idea what is happening. But what we thought was happening, that the sentiment hadn't really changed. There was just news about it. We went down, and we kept on going down after that. Like and this bounce doesn't make sense to me at all. Maybe Smoove or Moin can explain this better. I have no idea why this bounce happened. I am dumbfounded today of why it happened.
I don't try to get explain anything even to myself. Just like trade like whatever is the direction.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. But still, right? Like
why we pushed up that much?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I went over it a little bit on Sunday, but so the first the gap fill was pretty much imminent just because of we ended the week on such a long downtrend and we didn't have like a recovery phase, and we opened today on a gap after having such a large flush. So it was like, given that a little recovery was going to come in play, one thing I'm looking at is just our 5-day SMA on the daily. Or you can just look at your 5 EMA on the daily. That should be just as well, almost as well. We were underneath it for such a long time. And the last 2 weeks, I mentioned that we needed like a recovery phase as well. We broke weekly trends, and it continued to be flushing down for like week after week. We're rejecting to have any positive momentum. And then the last 2 weeks now, we had that bounce where we're now starting to go over the 5-day moving average, showing signs of like a short-term uptrend, or basically just a recovery out of a heavy downtrend. And now our next goal is to make sure we reject that 5 or even the 20 once again, so that way we know that we're in a downtrend. And then just the area that we're in is a lot of liquidity. So I think in this 560, 561 area is a good sign for us to reject if we want to continue going down. That'll be like a rejection of the weekly trend, and a rejection to hold the weekly trend, and that'll be our confirmation that we're in kind of a bear market. But yeah. Go through it a little bit more in the video. So if you guys watch the video, I'm gonna plug an ad for myself there. Go ahead and take a look at it.
Okay, Smoove, I'm sorry I missed your class.
And when you decide to make the move up, just give us a heads up. We all want to make money. Don't take money alone.
Just gonna buy
today, but the way that we went up today, for me, I didn't like it at all. It was not. We didn't have enough. When I was mentioning earlier with IntheZone, there was not enough volume in this range. So like you can't really look to like see price gravitate to any like volume nodes. Like normally you'll hold something because you're like, all right. There's a lot of volume at 552. It's gonna go there, and then it's gonna slow down or whatever. Because there was no indicator of that. It just went up really hard, went down, recovered, and then bounced again. Like it was like just wishy-washy today, because there was no direction. Surely, like did buyers want to hold price up? Like if we had just continued to hold lower, our 5 would have caught up even faster, but the fact that we slow grind up, now our 5 is taking longer. So for me, that gives me sign of like a larger move towards the end of the week, whether it's upside or downside. I'm leaning more bearish, but
my emotions were wishy-washy the whole day, dude. You're talking about it. Oh my god, it was like
my heart rate literally looks like a RSI these days when I trade.
Oh my god.
Totally full of like ups and downs, scrolls. Okay. Honestly, like we need the market to stabilize. It's very difficult to trade in this market. Like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, sudden candles come up. Okay, it makes it quite challenging. If you guys have questions on that or feel traumatized, don't be shy of that. Okay, we all are pretty much in the same place. This is not the right time to trade properly. I mean, this is more of a time that you see profit, you take profit, run away.
Yeah, this is honestly, this is not even a place where you learn. Like this is not how SPY trades for 3 years. You know how it's going to trade for the next 3, 4, 5 years once conditions
You never know.
stabilize.
Maybe this will be the norm.
I hope not. Like,
I hope not. I hope not.
yeah,
Because
but
if
this
it
is
is, then
not.
basically I'll like Smoove to give me a new job instead of trading.
Yeah, this is horrible. Like, whipsawing like this is horrible. Like, there are very few days that SPY recovers 1% without any news. Like, without any solid news coming in. Like I would have expected. Oh, jobs data came out over here was fantastic. It kind of like went down, or CPI came in lower than expected. Inflation was lower than expected. Like, or whatever. Like some good news that we did this, but nope. Like just went without it.
Yeah,
Till this broke
absolutely.
over here, I was like trading with the thing that this is just gonna keep coming down. This is gonna come down. This is gonna come down. Like this was my whole thought process. When this finally broke over here, I was like, dude, I'm done. Like my bias is like killing me right now, and it's sometimes just difficult to shake that off. So I stopped
So
trading.
true. Yeah. And the other weird part is like all of a sudden candles come out of nowhere. I have no idea, no news, nothing. You just have those candles coming up,
Yeah,
and they
like
take you out in seconds.
yeah, this candle, like like I understand this is early market, right? Like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So this is like almost at 10, 9:55. Like look at this, like push up. Like this is humongous. Like this went from 547 to
Yeah,
551.
that's
That's
like
a
a
$4.
$12 move a
Huh?
day.
Exactly, $4 move in 20 minutes. Like that is, I don't know what to call it to be really honest. Like I have no words for it. Like
Okay,
I'm sorry for the rant, guys. Like you guys are my therapist these days.
it's just our frustrations, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess like a lot of you face the same thing probably.
Any other questions, guys?
You talk about the option spot.
I did.
Great.
We did
You
earlier.
told everybody not to blindly take trades of it.
Yeah, I'll repeat it again. Like once we're
Thank
ending
you,
over
sir.
here, we'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Please, guys, be careful about buying options and carrying through the night. Just be very mindful of those. It's not one of those things that I would ever recommend to do, especially in this market. I'm all for swinging options. Don't get me wrong. I love swinging options, but in this market, just be very mindful of it. We've also retraced pretty hard, so thinking
And
about just carry puts and keep going at it. Um, you know, just realize we've retraced hard on multiple days and everything. So be very mindful of those things. If you see good green at the end of the day, try taking it. Don't aim for. Yeah, this is a good thing. Don't aim for those 100%. If the 100% come to you in a day, like during your trading day, it comes to you, absolutely take it. But don't try to make that happen. That hey, if I carry this overnight, tomorrow the market might go down even more, and I will make more. Don't do that. Not in this market, at least.
Turnaround this morning was abrupt. I was way up this morning before I could click sell. It turned around within minutes.
Yes.
yeah, trading the morning is really rough. I mean, if you a lot of people, especially if you're newer, you try to jump into the morning. It's really I don't recommend it. I don't think anybody here recommends it. The first 30 minutes. I mean, if you go back, um, and like just look at SPY historically, for like I could probably say for at least 3 4 years with confidence. The first like 5 10 minutes we go in one direction, and the next 5 10 minutes we go in another direction, and then price chooses where it wants to go. And typically, you notice some news falls at that perfect time. So like 9:30, 8:30 will have some news that'll force the market down. So we open down. um, and then recover out of that, and then it chooses the direction. Or there's news at 9:45, or someone's talking at 10 o'clock. It all falls together at the perfect time. Because after that first 10, 15 minutes, the premium starts to balance out, um, and then it needs like a catalyst really to choose a direction. Uh, the at the open, especially on a Monday's open, both calls and puts both benefit. Like they're both. No one knows what the real value of them are until a few candles go by, and then you start to realize, slowly but surely, the volume starts to set in. The open interest starts to balance out, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you my horror story that I ate Moen's head about on Friday about how I was so annoyed. I generally try not to enter before 10 o'clock. Like even for futures, especially this part, I will not trade it. Like the part like 20 minutes before it, 20 minutes after it, I try not to trade this. Right, and look at the whipsawing over here. This isn't huge. Like today it went from 564 to 566, $2 move, so not huge like today. But if you would have waited out this part, the day was clear as, whatever you want to call it. Like this was huge, right? I lost my a little bit of money. It wasn't huge, but I lost my mental peace. That one, I broke rules. Two, like just whipsawed. Like came all the way down, came all the way up, came all the way down, and then came more up over here. It just was horrible. I broke my own rule, traded this, lost money, lost confidence on top of it, which was worse. Never traded this move down. This would have been as clear as day. There was no green candle on a 5 minute chart. Even on a 1 minute chart, there were like barely any green candles on this one. Look at this horrifying thing. Um, Look at the green candles on this. Look at the red candles on it. And look at the barely green candles. There's one after like one, two, three, four, five. One green candle. One, two, three, four. One barely green candle. Huge red. Barely a green candle. Red, red, red. So you killed not only your own money, but you also kill your own confidence with something like this. So try not to do that, please, to yourself. Dude, I think Jacobs, I think we're kind of like, mirror trading at some point in time, I think. So, try not to let the market settle over here.
I really want this 346 to be gone on NQ. Clicked it a little bit late.
All right, guys, it is 8:30. If there's no other questions, we will hang up for the day. Anything else that you guys want to talk about? You guys done?